Hey, it's Judy Gunn here again. Another video for today. What's today? Number 20. What's the most tragic thing you've experienced in life and what lessons did you learn from it? Well, the most tragic thing that I ever experienced in my life was being molested. I was trying to remember how old I was. I think I was maybe 9 or 8. Maybe 8, 9 and 10, I don't know, round about then. And my mother had just had my brother, and he was very sick. He was born really tiny and she nearly lost him, so she was sick herself, so she was in hospital a lot longer than expected. And so my sister, my oldest sister, she's 21 months older than me, her and I were sent up to the farm to my mum's sister, that's my auntie, to stay on the farm with her so she could look after us while Mum was recuperating. And because Mum was sicker longer than expected, we ended up staying on the farm. Now, I can't really remember how long I was there, but my brother was born in the September and we went to school when it started, so I suppose it was after Christmas or maybe before Christmas. It was a few months anyway. And when we first got there, it was a lot of fun on the farm. A lot of my relatives were on the farms, and they had cows who all had names, and we brought them in every day for milking. And they had pigs, and they had lots of sheep, and the shearers would come to shear the sheep, and so we would help my auntie prepare all the meals for the shearers, and lots to do, very busy up every morning and all that sort of stuff. And my uncle is passed away, and so is my auntie, so I can share this, and this is in a closed group, and I've shared it many times before. But my uncle was the one who molested me, and he used to torment me all the time. You know, like my mum made all our clothes, and I had this one blouse that had sunflowers on it along the bottom, and the flowers came up around, you know, on the top of your chest. And he used to say things like, "Oh, those flowers are growing. Oh, I can see them growing every day." And to a child of my age, that was embarrassing to start with. And yeah, I just didn't like it. So I was always giving him a wide berth. And a couple of times when I was in the bath, he walked into the bathroom and I was just absolutely horrified. And so they had a big veranda on the house, and it was warm summertime, so we used to sleep out on the beds out on the veranda, which farmers often had verandas, and people slept out there at night time. And that's when it happened there. I was so scared because I couldn't get away from him. He was on top of me and he was a big guy, so I couldn't move. Petrified to open my mouth and say anything so I can understand other victims. When people say, "Why didn't you scream out?" I can understand that. It was just absolute fear. And then afterwards, too terrified. Like, who was I going to tell? My auntie wouldn't believe me. And back in those days, you didn't talk about stuff like that. So anyway, I rolled up my pajamas and stuffed them in my bag, and they stayed there till I got home. And so I was forever trying to get away from him. One night I spent in the pig pen. I was always the last to go to bed because I was outside hiding somewhere, and yeah, it was just, the rest of it was really awful. And then he got a bit nasty and wanted me to go and do something outside, and I said no, I wasn't going to. So he got a big stick and belted me on the back of my legs with this big stick and cut on my legs, and they got infected, and yeah, it was all big drama. But anyway, we got home. We had to go to school because we were there that long. We had to catch the bus to school, which was fun. We walked right down the driveway and get the bus to school, so that was fun. But when I finally got home, my mum unpacked my bag and she said, "What's this?" Because by then it was all dry and yucky. So I told her what happened. And I said, "If you ever send me to that farm again, I'm going to run away. I don't want to see him ever again. I don't want to be anywhere near him." And she didn't. She honoured my wishes. But at the same time, she never did anything about it because you didn't in those days. And years later, many, many years later, probably about 5 or 10 years before Mum passed away, we were talking about it one day, and she said he used to chase all the women like that, all his daughter's girlfriends. He was just terrible, really terrible, terrible man. But anyway, so that happened, and for all intents and purposes, I put it to the back and went on with my life. And it wasn't until I got married, the person I married we didn't really have a good relationship, and I learnt later on, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I learnt that I married him because he had big, broad shoulders, and I thought he would look after me. But anyway, in a personal development class that I was in, I shared my story. And what I learnt from that story, it wasn't until many years later, it was after I left the marriage as well. What I learnt from that when that happened to me, I made a statement about who I was. And I said to myself, my subconscious, that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, and no one is going to love you. So that's what I said to myself. And then for however many years it was, because I was in my 40s when I discovered all this, so all those years in between, I gathered information to prove that. And I've got a drawer full of certificates. And if I got another certificate, that would prove that I was good enough. I was always trying to get certificates and proof that I was good enough. And it wasn't until I started that journey of personal development that that's where it came from. And I think a lot of people have these things that happen. I mean, an event can happen in your early life. It doesn't have to be bad. It can be just something that someone says. Later on when we were in high school, I think we were, Mum was talking to us, and she was talking about when we were younger, and it was hard for her having, us two girls on her own. She didn't get any help when she left our father, and there was no support or anything like that back in those days. You had to find another husband or just battle yourself. So she used to take us two with her around to all the farms when she used to do cooking and things like that to survive. And she said her brother, she had 4 brothers and a sister, they all said to her, "You should put those girls in a home because they'll never amount to anything." Now, she was telling that story to us about, my family said I should put you in a home, but I never did, and I never would. So she was relating that story, but I picked up, on top of what had happened to me years before, I picked up that I would never amount to anything. So that added. So by the time I got married and went through all that stuff, all the things I did when I was married, I look back now, I think, oh, okay. But, honestly believe that things happen to us for a reason. I've shared my story many times, and I'm not the only one that's had these things happen. This is something that's been under the carpet for a long time. There's a lot of people who have suffered much worse than what I did, physically as well. But I believe that all the things that happened to me has made me who I am today. Even my relationship with my ex-husband, as bad as it was and as traumatic as it was, and how hard I fought to make it work, and in the end I just said, no, it's too hard, I can't do it. All those things, I think for all those things that he did, I now look at him and I say thank you, because I learnt, I sort of go one hand, I go on one hand he did this, on the other hand look at the gifts I have. So I have learnt so much, and I have picked up so many gifts along the way, and this is why I like to help other people, and I like to let other people know that it doesn't matter what happened. It's not what happened, it's how you deal with what happened. It's what you make it mean. And that's what I often say, we're all mean-making machines. People say something and people do something, and we make it mean all sorts of things. So that was my most traumatic episode, and a few other little episodes along the way, but that was the worst, and that was the one that had the most impact on me. But I like to share my story when it's appropriate, because there's other people out there that are dealing with and have dealt with things like this, and to let you know that with the right coaching and mentoring, you can get past this and you can see the value in it. You don't have to you don't have to like what happened, you don't have to agree with it, anything like that. But whatever happens to us now, I always say, what's my lesson in this? What's my lesson? Because we're all here to experience lessons, and that makes us who we are. So there, that's my story. Okay, so have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.